Hello. Good morning. Closing all these silly apps. How's it going, guys? I'm messing with my laptop. Oh, wait, I'm not on the normal speaker, am I? Hang on. Audio. There we go. Good morning. How's it going? Welcome. Hi, Adriana. Good morning, honey. Hi, Mish. Good morning, Michelle. How's it going? Pouring the bucha. What flavor is this today? Pink Lady Apple. I love kombucha. Good morning, Daniela. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Lori. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Shakti. Hi, Rhonda. Good morning. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Holly. Did you guys have a good Christmas? How was your holiday? Good morning. Hi, Derek. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Chantal. Good morning. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Angie. How are you guys? What have you been up to? You were insanely sick over Christmas, Laura. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to send Laura some Reiki. Okay, Laura, you ready? I'm going to send you some. I'm going to build. This is what you do sometimes. You can build up a ball of light and love and healing. You just imagine the ball is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and full of love and light. And then you think of the person, Laura, and then you send it to them. There you go, Laura. Still busy with the Christmas stuff, huh, Steph? Jeez. Never ends, does it? I spent all day yesterday cooking and cleaning. So yeah, I totally I totally get it. Having a busy holiday. Good morning, Terry. How is everyone? Did you guys all have a good Christmas? Good morning, Matt. Happy Boxing Day. Did you already have your bubble and squeak? That's what I'm going to make today for lunch. I'm going to make some bubble and squeak. For those of you who are American, have no idea what I'm talking about. It's basically just a bunch of roasted vegetables made into a pancake. And it's fried up. It's really good, actually. You take all your leftovers and you make a pancake out of it. Quiet holiday with just my son. I sat and did channel drawings. Wonderful. Honing your clairs. That's wonderful, Lori. Lots of practice. I start Claire's. Is it Friday? Claire has a mentorship program she's starting. I think it's Friday. It is Friday. Yeah. I'm excited about it. My American colleague says the Boxing Day isn't a thing in the States. No, it's not. It is definitely not a thing here. It is a work day for most people, including myself, even though I've got my little minion out in the living room still, enjoying his tablet. It's the only way to keep him quiet for an hour in the morning. Good morning. So what do you guys want to talk about? Anybody have any crazy stuff happen over Christmas? How did Mercury retrograde? Christmas and Mercury retrograde are a horrible combination. They really are. I had a terrible time with our oven yesterday. Nothing wanted to work properly. How did you guys fare with Mercury retrograde on Christmas? I had a wonderful day, Chantal. Thank you for asking. Spent it with my mom and stepdad and my little guy. We have a very small family when it comes down here. My sister lives in Syracuse. She's coming down in a few days to visit. So Christmas, I'll get to cook Christmas dinner again. Yay. You were sick for a few days, Danielle. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better as well. I'll send you some Reiki too, Danielle. I had a lovely Christmas. My husband's sister and her family moved here to Florida and we spent it with them. Very happy. I'm glad to hear that, Michelle. That's wonderful. I'm glad you guys had a good Christmas. I I partook of the fungus for Christmas. Well, when you don't have that many responsibilities for Christmas. I had a nice little conversation with my soul guides through that. It was wonderful. They warned me. They said big things are coming. I was like, what do you mean big things? They're like, big. They said, you better buckle up. And I'm like, no. We've already had too many big things. So apparently some big stuff is about to happen. Yeah, Laura ended up getting sick with some of the same things I had. Then I got super dizzy yesterday, which Steph had the night before. Let's check the flares. That's my first initial thought is what the hell has flares been doing? Let's see. Big good things. Yes, big good things are coming. Exactly, Chantal. Holy crap. Look at the Schumann. Look at that. That's not normal. Look at the amplitude. Look at the bottom. So yeah, that could also be part of it. Let's check out the solar flares. That was the Schumann. Oh yeah, look at that. Damn. Look what happened on Christmas. Christmas, we got a big sucker. Let me check the graph. Yeah, there's been a bit of activity. Yeah, definitely. And who else is used to a white Christmas, but you got a brown Christmas like I did? It was like 54 degrees yesterday. It was crazy warm. What was the black boxes coming out of the sun? Probably ships. And there's a lot more of them that are coming through in the next few days. There's a whole bunch of ships coming here. Svadu has been talking about it a little bit on the Cosmic Agency channel. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of ETs that are rocking up at this time of year. Apparently, there's one group that is quite a big deal. That's going to be arriving on New Year's Eve. The Thorfins. I can't remember. I can't pronounce some of their fucking ET names. They have a weird nose. They're the ones they're the grays with the elongated noses. Yeah, the big nosed grays. Yes, those ones. The last time they came through here was 9/11, so it's like, what are you up to? I'm so upset that I missed the Zoom chat with Laura. I'm sorry, with Tara. Bummer. I wonder if that got recorded. I would like to see that. I was in the middle of cooking and cleaning and organizing, and oh my gosh, it was so busy. I was feeling good. Now it's like, well, bang, roller coaster, mate, jump on, no hands. Exactly, Rachel. We're all kind of doing this right now. It doesn't help that Mercury retrograde is also in effect until New Year's. Big nose, weird ass name mofos. Yeah, those guys. Exactly, Heather. Yeah, there's a lot of emotionless races that come here. This is part of the problem. It is on replay. Wonderful. Thank you, Daniela. Daniela says that the message with Tara, the Saturday end of year message is on replay. I will check it out after the podcast. That's wonderful. Thank you, Daniela. Christmas did not feel the same this year. I did not have it together. I didn't even wrap half my presents. Oh, honey, but you were sick, so it's okay. It's totally understandable. And to be honest, kids don't care. They really genuinely don't care. Not even a little bit. They're just happy they have gifts. They don't care if they're wrapped. Nope. What the hell is that? There's a weird ass bug in my room. This is what I mean. Christmas is not supposed to be warm, and Christmas is not supposed to have bugs in your house. I think it's a snake bug. It's distracting me. I'm sorry. They're everywhere this year. They don't go away. Oh, they're the worst. He's really distracting because he's hovering like right here. Stupid thing. Rah. Yes, Bob, weird ass bug. As you guys can tell, I didn't have anything planned for today. What do you guys want to talk about? I'm just sitting here chatting shit. Stink bugs are the worst. They're driving me insane. They really are. I think what happened is when I brought my Christmas tree up last week, they were hiding in the basement with my tree. Because I don't have a real tree. I don't believe in building real trees, but if you do, it's okay. But I prefer my plastic tree that I've used like 7 times now. This is why I need a cat. Exactly. So, I got a little bit of insight over the weekend. I don't even know where to begin because it was quite a good mushy trip, I must say. So, it's a long story, but I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed about the situation, about things that have been going on. And my own soul guides, they gave me a little bit of advice because this planet is in a big mess. There's a lot that's been going on. There's a lot of cleanup. And to be honest, the more we look at all of these SRT cases and we realize that there's pretty much nobody that is unscathed. I mean, my little guy, we did a clearing on him. This was months ago. I paid for Andy to do a family one. And Aiden only had 5 cords, which, I mean, if you think about it, that's nothing. 5 cords compared to what you're finding on most people. So you do see some people that don't really have attachments. But they are usually, people who are very, very positive, very high vibe people that don't have to worry about those sort of things. But we've noticed that even high vibe people can end up having attachments. They don't mean to. It's one of those things where, people are drawn to their light. And it's one of the questions that I was asking. I wanted to know, about our light and why it attracts them so much. It's a long story. Oh, man. I had quite a conversation with my soul guides, though, because they were basically explaining is there a connection between entities and parasites? Yes, absolutely. I believe that everything in existence has an astral counterpart. So you do see a lot of these beings. What you would normally see, they resemble creatures you would see in real life. There was one person that we did a clearing on, and they had a centipede in their head. And it wasn't just a normal centipede. It was one of those horned centipedes. And so I actually Googled it, and I showed Claire, who saw the centipede in this woman's head, and was like, yes, that's exactly what it looks like. But it was the astral version of one. So it's not like a real centipede is obviously rallying around in her head. She had an astral one. And so it makes you wonder, why there is an astral centipede with horns that can attach to people. And I think that's why, is because there's an astral counterpart to everything in existence. There was one lady that we checked that had a whole bunch of fleas, astral fleas, inside her auric field. So yeah, there's definitely a connection, I think, because it's kind of they're just opportunists, really. All the earthbounds are opportunists. All the entities are opportunists, and the parasites the same way. If you leave, it's kind of when you have a bright light on your porch, right? And then you leave your front door open next to that light. And what happens when you come out later on and you look? There's bugs everywhere, right? It's because they were attracted to the light. And if you leave your door open, then they're going to come in. And then they're going to swarm your house. And that's essentially what's happening with people that are, dealing with astral parasites. And they could be anything. They don't have to just be bugs. A lot of people talk about astral spiders. Yep, those are real. Those are quite a thing. They're everywhere. And when it comes to these actual parasites, they're not always bugs. There's a lot of them are actually, they look like aquatic beings. There's one lady that was being attacked by an eel. Like you could see, like it was like chomping on her hip. There was another lady who had a octopus stuck to her face, an astral octopus. She had a horrible time breathing. She couldn't breathe properly, and there was something obstructing her airways. And whenever they went to check, they couldn't find anything obstructing her airways. Sure enough, she went and got a clearing, and she had this face. It reminds me of those face suckers from Alien, but it was an octopus, and it was attached to her face. So just having one in the astral can block your physical breathing. She couldn't breathe properly at all. Like she was really struggling. She was on oxygen. Yep. So it just goes to show that, there's pretty much everything that you can imagine and then some exists in the astral, just as an energy that can attach to people. I picked up a discarnate from a self-proclaimed spiritual person who clears them that I met shopping. They're kind of like, speaking of fleas, that's basically what they do, yeah. This is one of the problems, whenever you go to, let's just say that you have a family member that you don't really like, but you bump into them because of Christmas or whatever, and they have a whole bunch of attachments. It's very possible that one or more will actually leave them. If you've got more energy, better energy than the person that they've attached to, they'll swap. They'll jump from them to you. So, it's really important to keep up with your spiritual hygiene. And just one earthbound, I've realized, can really make a huge difference in your amount of energy that you have. Some days that you don't really want to, if you ever have days where you don't want to get out of bed and you feel absolutely exhausted and you feel like you have no will to live, you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to be here today. I really don't. That was how I felt for 3 days until I got rid of that earthbound. I definitely have been able to pick up on this bit more, when you don't feel yourself. A lot of times we blame it on being exhausted. We blame it on work. We blame it on other people. We blame it on lack of sleep. But we don't realize that that's how you feel when you have an earthbound. You just feel wrong. You don't feel right. There's just something, about your energy and about the way that you feel. A lot of times you feel down for no reason whatsoever. It was just one earthbound, and it had me in a funk for like 3 days. So I can only imagine how my ex was feeling when he had 32 earthbounds. Oh my God. Holy shit. How do you feel about taking Galamantine for assisting in OBE? I don't believe in taking anything for OBEs personally. Don't get me wrong, I'm very much a a psychonaut, if you know what that means, but I don't believe in taking anything because it's not going to be easy for you to get out of body without it. Just like a crutch, if you're going to learn to walk with a crutch, you're never going to walk properly. So you're going to have to walk on your own first. It's not a good idea because if you think about it, when you astral project, you're raising your vibration really, really high in order to get out of body. Then you set your intention to get out of body. So if you actually were to do that with any substance, your mind is not going to be prepared. Your frequency isn't going to be naturally high. It's going to be, it's not the same. In fact, you end up astral projecting with that filter. It's like a lens that gets put over your perception when you take things as well. This is why when you astral project on psychedelics, you end up astral projecting and seeing things, but through the filter of the plant. Are you able to clear these on people? I have a neighbor who could use help. Our problem right now is we don't have enough mediums. I have probably about 40 people on my list of people that I need to do for cases. And these are just hard up people. These are people that aren't even paying, people who are very desperate for a clearing and can't afford it right now. So I've got a list of people that have been messaging me and asking to be put on there. And like I said, I've got like 40 people on there. It's going to take months for me to get through some of these things because, like I said, I don't have a medium to work with at the moment. We need more mediums. There were 8 of us facilitators that were trained, and there were only 4 mediums, and all 4 of those mediums have day jobs. So finding time to work with a medium is the hardest part, unfortunately. But I would definitely love to. Can you clear yourself? I call in Chen and my soul guides whenever I feel something isn't right. but I'm not so sure if they listen. Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm still working on that, on trust exercises, I guess. It feels a lot more legit if you're asking through a medium. But it was funny because we were doing, my last time I was doing clearings with Claire, I said to her, I was like, I don't feel right. Can you check me? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, how did you know? I was like, what do you mean? She goes, how did you know you had an earthbound? I was like, I just sensed it. I can feel it. I can feel I wasn't myself. I can only imagine how many astral parasites and entities have been attached to me and my little family our whole lives. Yep. There's a lot, you know, hindsight's 2020, as they say. And there are scenes in my life that I'm kind of like going back and reviewing in my mind sometimes. And I'm like, oh my God, that was totally an entity that was involved there. There were some scenes in my life that were pretty fucked up. And then if you go back and rewind, you know, especially, I hate to say it, but both of my marriages fell apart for that reason. I watched both of my ex-husbands, their eyes go black, and they end up losing their shit and smashing stuff and going crazy. And they're both fine now, which is ironic. When I leave, the entities seem to go away. Their attachments went away. But this is what I mean. Like when I heard, I can't remember who said it, whether it was one of the SRT people or whether it was Marie Svadu, it might have been, I don't know. But when they said that they come after the people closest to you, if it's a powerful starseed and you're somebody who is in your light and standing in your power, they can't touch you. They can't touch you at all. You are basically invincible to them. So what do? They go after your loved ones who are not invincible, the ones that are struggling, who are not doing their spiritual hygiene, who are, you know, more susceptible to their influence. And they'll Jedi mind trick the people that are working near you or the people that are part of your family. So I hate to say it, but it's the starseeds. And it doesn't matter if you're doing SRT work or not. It's just the fact that you have a bright light and that they're attracted to. It wasn't me. It wasn't my son. It was one of our mediums. One of our mediums was talking about how, it was Katie. Katie was talking about how she, her son who can see, he's, I forget, was it not clairsentient, whatever it is, he can see. I can't remember what the name of the damn clairs are. But anyway, he can see, and he had a shadow with red eyes attacked him on the playground. And yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they unfortunately will try and mess with us. But I think they do go away eventually. Like, they'll back off a little bit once you are, you know, keeping up with your spiritual hygiene routines and stuff like that. Not just for you, but for your kids. Aiden was telling me the other day, he's like, Mommy, my heart feels funny. And I'm like, okay, well, what's wrong? And he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't doing any exercise or anything. So I'm like, all right, let's go get you in the bath. And I gave him a salt bath and it went away. He was fine within 20 minutes. So it's one of those things where, you know, just keep up with your sea salt baths. If there's anybody that's around you that you feel may be susceptible to entity influences because they may be trying to mess with them to get to you, yeah, that's when you want to talk to them about keeping up with their spiritual hygiene and making sure that they are telling you if something doesn't feel right. And Aiden knows now, like, if there's anything at all that doesn't seem right or doesn't feel right, or if anything is going on emotionally with him, he comes and tells me immediately now, which is really good because he didn't do that before. And yes, it is Andy's birthday. For those of you who love Andy as much as I do, be sure to message him. And you can even post it in the Spirit Release Therapy group. Somebody wished him a happy birthday if you would like to wish Andy happy birthday. It was also Jane's birthday on Christmas Eve. So I think that's adorable. They're born like a day apart from each other. So yeah, big happy birthday to Andy. I'm thinking about going to his office to clear some things from his space. Remember that you don't have to smudge with actual smoke. I have one of these that I made. It's my sage spray that I made. I literally just soaked sage in rose water, sage and rose, for 2 or 3 days. And then I added some essential oils to it, and it smells like sage. It's really quite strong, actually, which is why I'm not going to spray it right now. So Jane is doing much better. Thank you for asking, Bailey. Yeah, Jane's doing all right. She's home now, which is wonderful. Oh, yes. Himalayan salt. Saw a video about what? Coming. I haven't heard about that one, Anna. Can you put this on your body? Yes. Yes, you can. Absolutely. Yeah, you just soak it in water for a couple days. Cleanest water you can find. And add some sea salt in it too. Oh, you can cleanse with lemon. Nice. Add some lemon juice to your sage and oil, sage water, whatever you call it. Palo Santo is very potent, but it's not a cleanser. I heard from a shaman friend of mine that Palo Santo isn't a cleanser, it's a vibration lifter. So what you do is you burn the sage to clear the space, and then you burn Palo Santo to raise the vibration of the space and invite positive spirits back in. That's how I was trained with it. So yeah, that's what I was heard. And you can use sage in a diffuser. Yes. I have a cool looking one. The reason I got it is because it looks like the genie bottle. Hang on. Here we go. Check this thing out. This is my it's leaking. This is my diffuser. Isn't this cool? You just put your water in there with a bit of essential oil. And yeah. Getting frankincense water all over my lap. It was wonderful. Thank you. So yeah, that was only $20. And you can find all kinds of cool diffusers. And basically that's all you do is for those of you who can't handle smoke, you just fill it up with water, put a few drops of your favorite essential oil in there, and then your whole house will smell of sage and whatever else you put in there. You can put sage leaves in there, but honestly, it might actually mess up your machine. So I would make the sage water first, where you basically you could boil sage. Like you could take sage, put it in a pot, boil it, and then wait for it to go cool, and then use that in there as well. So you make like a sage tea almost and put that in there. Frankincense and myrrh is a very protective scent. One of my favorites, actually. I have a bunch of essential oils because I'm a little crazy about essential oils. So I have these sets. And these are really cool. Check this out. Woo, look at it. Those are all essential oils. So there's a whole bunch of them here. Sage and lemon and a whole bunch of goodies in there. But this one's actually my favorite. Oh, that's not it. Where is it? What did I do with it? I have too much stuff. Where is it? I have one that's got frankincense and myrrh and copal. What is this one? Oh, this is the fruit one. I've been making my own candles and stuff because I found out that candles are one of the most toxic things that you can have in your house because of all the shit that they put in the chemicals. All the shit that they put in the candles, all the chemicals. So I've been buying organic, all natural essential oils. And yeah, this one went in the candles, all different fruits and stuff. But there's another one that I have that's missing for some reason. Probably because I used it earlier. But it's got copal, it's got frankincense and myrrh, and it's got a whole bunch of others in there. But they're all protective essential oils. Laura says, yes, I was so sad to cut out candles and make my own out of beeswax. Yep, I do too. Beeswax or organic soy. Beeswax is expensive as hell. And I feel guilty using it sometimes. So I've been using the organic soy candles. And if you'll notice too that like it doesn't have the black soot burn off that you would normally have with one of these. Like I have one of these candles, for example. I got one of these as a gift because I got it from one of those department store things that was on sale. And lilac is my favorite scent, so they got it for me as a gift. And I noticed that when I burned this versus when I burn my organic candle that I made. This has got a lot more black soot that comes off. I'm obsessed with candles. I've been making big ones. This one this one is massive. It used to have a whole bunch of really cool, it was like literally this big. It had a whole bunch of really cool, like I've got little molds that I use. So that way you can, that black soot is awful and it gets all over your house. Like you can literally see it on your walls and stuff. So candles, guys, if you've got candles and they're not organic, you really should not be burning them. They're so bad. They really are. They're so toxic. It's a bummer too, because I definitely love burning candles. Can you share where you got the box? I got them on online. I can't remember where. I think it was Etsy. If you go on Etsy and you search organic essential oils, you'll find them. I've spent so much money on Etsy. I really have. But I don't want to use all the fake shit, because like I said, the other candles, like this one, I got this one at the Crystal Cove Collective, where I met Tara. And this is a frankincense and myrrh candle. This is the nicest candle I've ever bought. It really is so nice. And frankincense and myrrh, it really is such a powerful scent. Very, very strong. But like I said, it's it's very toxic for dogs and cats as well. Yep. I used to burn them all day, every day years ago until they ruined my walls. Yeah, exactly. That's the black soot that ruins your walls. Those were the not good candles. This one, like I said, I can see the black soot coming off of this. Like, it's crazy. So I don't burn it very often. But when I burn my other candle, and especially this one as well, this one is 100% organic soy. There's no black soot that comes off of this one either. Although I will admit that anything that you're burning is going to end up having something that's not good about it, even if it's organic. That's the thing about breathing in stuff, smoke inhalation. Yep. Yeah, Yankee candles are really bad for that. They really are. But this one, the reason I like this one actually is the smell. Because lilac is a smell you don't normally smell, and it actually smells like lilac. So that's the only reason I didn't throw that one in the trash. And sometimes with the wick, they make them with lead. Yes, exactly. So you're breathing in all that shit. What brands do I use? I think the one is Laguna. Laguna Moon is what it's called. If you want to search it, Laguna Moon. That's where I got my big set. I love wooden wicks as well, definitely. There's 80 people watching right now. I feel kind of bad that I'm talking about candles, but it's good to know. It's good to know not to burn that shit. Yeah, because they really do. They will fuck up your lungs and your walls at the same time. Tonight is the full moon. Do you think the full moon affects us? Without a doubt, 100%. Oh, man. Just thinking about starting a full moon. Here, I'll show you. Since you're asking again. There it is. That's the case I got. It's got chamomile, cedar, cinnamon, lavender, bergamot, geranium, jasmine, rose, eucalyptus, grapefruit, peppermint, vetiver, vanilla, frankincense, orange, lemongrass, lemon, tea grass, Jesus Christ, I can't even read today. Tea tree, sandalwood, and rosemary. But I have a whole bunch of other ones that I order individually because they don't sell them, like garlic essential oil, oregano essential oil. I got a whole bunch of them for medicinal purposes as well. Yes, isn't vetiver nice? I love vetiver. I usually mix it with cedar and a few other things. Vetiver is a type of grass, for those of you who don't know. It smells so clean and fresh when you sniff it. So when it comes to the full moon, the full moon is when, you know how people say like the crazies come out on the full moon. I was a firefighter and I also worked in a hospital, so I've seen firsthand how crazy things can get on a full moon. People do go buck wild, and I think the reason for that is because we're affected by the energy, and it's not even just, Ray just said he made full moon water last night. Oh, man. So according to the Tegetans, which you guys have heard me talk about many, many times, so you probably know who I'm talking about. They have said that full moon water is actually not very good for you. You're basically so. Oh, I'm laughing because I know I sound crazy when I say this. So the moon is not what people think it is. It's not some dead planet or some kind of planetary body. It's actually it's a ship. Yeah, it's a ship. So it's got all the 3D matrix technology in there. We're in it's a long story, but we're kind of in this artificial 3D matrix quarantine type of thing, and all of that technology is sitting in the moon, which is why, so many people talk about the moon being hollow and making weird sounds when people crash into it. So long story short, if you make full moon water, you're basically just imbuing the water with matrix energy. So they've said, and this is exactly per what they've said. They said that the matrix is at its strongest during a full moon and at its weakest during a new moon. So at a full moon, you're gonna have the full brunt of the power of this artificial matrix. But on the new moon, they say that this is when you can see things better because the matrix is weaker. So you can see ghosts better and other things like that. People gonna learn what the moon is. It's one of those things that I feel is going to be one of the hardest things for humans to accept. There's a lot of things that it's going to be hard for humans to accept. Mainstream, I should say, beliefs have controlled our opinion on science for a long time. And unfortunately, there's a lot of science that is considered fact when it's not. And the moon is just one of those many things. What about doing magic rituals in accordance to the moon phases? Well, that's the thing, people make up rituals. They do. I don't think that the rituals we perform today are the same rituals that we were performing 1,000 years ago. I don't think they're even close. But the thing is, we have been worshiping the moon for longer than it's actually been up there. Because it used to be Tiamat. Tiamat, it's a long story, is one of our twin water planets. And it was destroyed. And they put the moon up there so Earth wouldn't be destroyed with it. It's here to balance us out. So it's not a bad thing that it's up there. But what they did with it, what they put inside it, that's where the problems start. So the generators that are up there are for the Van Allen belt, which is why so many souls can't leave Earth. That's part of our quarantine. And the other part is the artificial 3D matrix. We're always talking about this shift to 5D, right? Where everybody's assuming that when we move from 3D to 5D, that it's going to be a smooth transition. But the problem is that we've been in 5D. 5D is all around us. It has been for probably millions of years. 5D happened a long time ago. It's just that we were put into this 3D bubble. 3D is normally reserved for the animal kingdom. Animals weren't supposed to see ghosts and all those other things. That was it. It was not supposed to be us. We weren't really supposed to be lumped into that category. But considering all the big drama that happened here about 12,000 years ago, that's why they implemented the quarantine and put us into this artificial 3D matrix. So the real question isn't just about, when the 5D shift is going to happen. It's really down to screwing over the technology that's sitting in our fucking moon right now, unfortunately. So, yeah. I've tried to get to the moon while astral traveling, and I couldn't do it. I've astral traveled probably close to 200 times because, like I said, back in the day, I was practicing every night. I practiced almost every night for 3 years, and I did a lot of traveling around, and I couldn't get to the moon. I tried a few times, actually, and every time I would get certain distance, I can't even tell what distance it was because I'd be zooming along. You can fly pretty fast when you're astral projecting, and all of a sudden, just I'd wake up in my bed. The same thing that happened when I tried to be nosy and get into the Vatican archives. Yeah, the same thing happened. when I tried to get into the Vatican archives, I got jolted awake. Something zapped me while I was down there. I don't know what it was, but it woke me up immediately. Yeah, the moon is a big mess, you guys. It really is. It's quite a story because if you think about it, it's like one of the biggest secrets of this whole planet's had for 12,000 years. They don't want us to know about a lot of things. But if you think about it, it's just one of a billion little details that have some kind of a say in how our reality. What's the craziest place you astral traveled? I don't know. I'm trying to think. Most of the time when I was astral traveling, I was just flying around because flying around is a lot of fun. I didn't go in the under the water very much. Some people like to astral travel underwater. It made me super uncomfortable, and I didn't do it. Nope. So to be honest, I think the most interesting place was one of these cathedrals. I went into a cathedral once, and I got into the catacombs underneath it. It was a cathedral in Barcelona when I was staying in Spain. Can't think of the name, but there's a big underground catacombs underneath the cathedral, and I went down there. That was probably the coolest place I've been. I felt like Indiana Jones going through. You know that scene where he's under the cathedral? Yeah, I kind of felt like that. So that's got to be the coolest place I've been. But to be honest, it was really spooky. But that's probably what made it cooler. Yes, the scene with the rats. That's the one. That's totally how I felt doing that. So how do you know that you're astral traveling versus lucid dreaming? The only difference between astral projection and a lucid dream, the lucid dream is like the halfway point between an astral projection and a dream. When you're astral projecting, you are fully awake. Your body is completely asleep, but your consciousness is fully awake, and you're actually chose to leave your body. Lucid dreaming is almost an astral projection in the respect that you leave your body, yes, but you don't choose to consciously. You don't choose to leave it. It just sort of happens, and you realize, oh shit, okay, I can control this, and you kind of do your thing. Whereas astral projection is when you're actively practicing to shut your body down and send your mind out of body. So you can tell the difference just in the fact that you are able to control everything and remember everything as if it was real. Because in a lucid dream, you remember bits and pieces. And so, yeah, you can actually, for an intentional lucid dream, that's when you're already dreaming and you realize you're dreaming and you choose to take control of the dream. So you can actually choose to take control of the dream and do whatever you want with it. But it's not the same as an astral projection because you're still going to have a bit of, well, for example, my best example between the two, when you're astral projecting, you can read words, you can read signs, you can open a book and you'll be able to read the letters. But if you're vivid dreaming / lucid dreaming, whatever you want to prefer to call it, the letters will often be blurry. The reason for that, I'm not sure, but I think it's because you're not completely out of body. I think that you're kind of creating this experience as you go, which is the same for astral projection, but you're not 100% coherent for it, if that makes any sense. Because there's definitely layers to consciousness, it's kind of like when you're falling asleep and you get put into that theta brainwave state. That's the same as hypnosis. But it's not the same as being completely out. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. It's like in lucid dreaming, it's kind of like where you're in that light trance versus astral projection when you're deep under. So that's kind of that's how I would compare it to. One, you're kind of with it, and others you're out. But like with astral projection, you remember everything as if you were completely awake, as if you were, having a real experience while you're awake. But vivid dreaming, it's usually bits and pieces that you remember. So if you ever have a dream and you kind of like, I remember this and I remember that, but it's starting to get blurry, that was a vivid dream. So if you ever wake up and you're like, holy shit, I was flying and I was doing this and that. If you didn't choose and plan to go consciously out of body that way, then yeah, it's a vivid dream. When I first started doing it, it was hard for me to walk. I would have to walk backwards. Yep. And then later I could bounce and fly. Sometimes I'll be laying on top of people's walls looking into their houses through the roof. This is what I mean when I say there's no such thing as privacy when it comes to the astral. Yep. There's a lot of people that do that where they just kind of float around watching people, which I realize is not the nicest thing to do. You really should be minding your own business. But I hate to say it, nobody's going to stop you either. You know, your soul guides are going to see what you're doing. They're going to see everything you're up to in the astral. So just for the record. Last time I astral projected, last week, right after I woke up, my higher self told me, you know you are astral projecting because right now you know your body is asleep right next to your wife. Yes, absolutely. That was totally an astral projection, David. And you'll be able to see if your wife is sleeping, you'll be able to see what she's doing too. A lot of times we just kind of fumble around the house. We don't really do much when we're dreaming. Because when you're dreaming, your brain is kind of on autopilot. It's just kind of doing whatever you would normally do while you're awake. It's continuing to do those things while you sleep. Oh, happy birthday, Nicole. You have the same birthday as Andy. That's cool. Awesome. Yes, I'm just reading up. There's a lot of comments that popped up there. Definitely call in Archangel Michael if you need. Yep. Perfect response, Ariana. Love that. And teach her to say, in the name of Archangel Michael, I command you to leave when she's scared. And also put a black tourmaline under her mattress and a little sea salt under her bed. I missed a comment, an important comment. Oh, that's why. Okay, I see it now. There were too many comments for me to catch that one. Thank you for catching that, Ariana. I can't even read today. See what I mean? My brain is just mush. Your brainwaves are as active as if you are awake during REM sleep when our bodies go into atonia so we don't act out our dreams. Yep. And this is what the thing about sleepwalkers, too. Those people are literally acting out their dreams. I dream and remember I visited my dad in a different timeline. He was married to someone else with a different family, and I asked him where he went and why he didn't tell me, and he said he couldn't. He missed and loved me, gave me a big hug, and I left. Wow, Carla, that's beautiful. And yeah, you know, these timelines, we don't really understand this. A lot of times that, you know, we start an incarnation, we don't realize that so many different versions of ourselves have deviated from that. And so there's different versions. There might be a version of you in a reality where you died as an infant. And in another reality, you may live to be over 100. So there are realities. Like one of my favorite sessions was with Suzanne Spooner. And Suzanne Spooner, one of the QHHT level 3s, she had a man that came by for a session and she put him under. And the first thing he saw when he stepped off the cloud was a flat screen TV. And she was like, wait a second, this is strange. A flat screen TV, that's not a past life. So she started inquiring, asking more questions. She found out that he went into a parallel life, not even a past life, but an alternate life version of himself. And so she started asking questions and she found out where the timeline split happened. That happened with his college decision, which college that he was going to go to. The college that he chose in this reality was different to the college that he chose in that reality. And because he chose a different college, he had a different profession. I think he was a doctor or something else. I can't remember what the other, I think one was a lawyer and the other was a doctor. I can't remember. But in the other incarnation, he had a different wife because he met a different woman at a different college. He had 3 children versus 1 child that he had in this incarnation. Completely different children. Everything about himself was different. So yeah, you can tap into these other versions of yourself. Some of them may live to be over 100, like I said. So it is pretty cool that you can kind of tune into other versions of yourself. Can you talk about when, i.e., being an aspect of Archangel Michael, are similar? Well, the archangels are essentially just very advanced souls. Archangel Michael, in particular, he's basically the biggest warrior that they have. So he, as a warrior, that's what he does, is he goes out and kicks ass. Usually it's lower astral stuff. But ironically, he's I'm laughing because I'm thinking about that case study with Terry Palmer. There was this man who went in for an SRT study, and they found his deceased mother. His mother was an earthbound, and she was attached to him. And they actually asked, the soul guides to come remove her because she refused to leave. And even the soul guides were like, all right, we're going to need to call in some backup. So they actually called in Archangel Michael for this one soul that refused to leave. She was a narcissist, and her attitude was, well, I'm not leaving. This is my son. I'm not going anywhere, So Archangel Michael literally showed up, put her under his arm, and carted her off. So, like, Archangel Michael will even rock up when dealing with difficult earthbounds. So it's not just demons that he will confront. But it's a long story, but essentially all of these archangels are essentially just very powerful, advanced souls who you can call upon for help. Each one kind of tends to have a different speciality or gift. And that's Archangel Michael's gift, is you fuck around, you find out. And he doesn't, he doesn't suffer fools and that sort of thing. So whenever you call an Archangel Michael, you don't do it for anything. You do it for when you really need help. Like if you need guidance or something, that's when you call in one of the other archangels. If you need him to come and kick some ass on your behalf, that's when you call in Archangel Michael. And like I said, he's the one that really deals with a lot of these very difficult beings that need to be removed. And yes, he does have a great sense of humor. Actually, all the archangels tend to have a good sense of humor. Laughter is high vibe, guys. This is one of the things you gotta remember. He's not strong enough for my mother, Sabrina said. Well, like I said, you get very stubborn beings, and sometimes you need help. So yeah, that's what you call in when you really need some help and you have a tough case and you need protection and guidance and some strong action on your behalf. Ray is asking how my shroom trip was. I started talking about it, but then I sidetracked myself. It was wonderful. Thank you. They gave me a great analogy, actually, because I was basically acting a little frustrated and overwhelmed about this whole situation here on Earth. And they gave me a good analogy. They said, when you walk into a bedroom as a kid and your parents force you to go in your room and clean. Anybody ever have that happen where your parents are like, go to your room and don't come out until it's clean? And you walk in your room and you look at your mess and you're just like, oh, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. And you start crying because you just look at the big mess and you're like, I'll never get this done. I'll be in here forever. That's kind of how I was feeling. And so my soul guides, that was a great analogy. They said, well, basically, if you look at the whole mess, you're not even going to want to begin. You're just going to be miserable. You're going to start crying. You're going to get depressed. You're going to look at it and be like, I can't do this. So they said, you have to focus. You have to treat this whole mess on Earth just like you would treat the same situation. If you look at the whole situation, if you look at the big picture of all the mess at once, it looks overwhelming. You're not going to know where to start. You're going to freak out. You're going to freak everybody else out because you're going to be hysterical about this. I can't do this, attitude. But they said if you were to focus on one little corner, one little spot of the room and sort that out, and then you move a little more and you start sorting that out, and you just focus on time. Just put your blinders on if you have to, and focus on one small corner of the room and just clean it that way. And then you start spreading it to another little corner. And the next thing you know, the room is cleaning itself and you don't have as much mess to deal with. So that was the analogy they gave me, where they were basically, like, if you go in there with the attitude of I have to tackle it all at once, you're going to give up. You're going to freak yourself out and be like, it's too much, I can't take it. And then you're going to end up burning yourself out. So you basically just have to take it one day at a time, one little piece at a time, handle what you can, and worry about the other stuff later. Don't even think about it. Don't even look at it. Don't even look at the rest of the mess. Just focus on your spot, your corner. And we'll focus on another corner, and we also focus on another corner, and we'll start cleaning it up together. And eventually this mess won't look as anywhere near as bad overall. So that was the advice they gave me. And I was venting a little bit about the whole Gosha thing, because I don't really know how to process that. It's a huge responsibility, because if you think about it, this interview with Gosha that's coming up, it's not just Gosha that I'm going to be talking to, because with her, the Tegetans are listening. Everything that she hears, the Tegetans are going to hear. So they're going to be watching my podcast on the Teleka ship, which, holy shit, that's quite a big deal. But that's not even the biggest deal if you think about it, because if the Teleka crew is going to watch it, then it also means that the Federation is going to watch it. So if you think about it, it's January 4th. For the record, January 4th is when I'm going to be having this. I still can't believe this. And I asked my soul guides about it too. I was like, how did this even happen? Like, how did, like, what the hell? And they laughed and they're like, well, you manifested this. You wanted to tell the Federation off. Now you've got the chance. That's what my soul guides explained to me. They're just like, yeah, you wanted the opportunity to tell off the Federation. And you manifested it. So that's what they told me about it when I asked them. I was like, how the hell is this even happening? And they're like, no, you wanted to tell off the Federation. Now you get the chance. I think it is. It's definitely one of the catalysts, Sabrina, just saying. This is why I said, when I asked them, I was like, how big is this going to get? And they started laughing. They're like, we don't want to tell you how big it's going to get because you're going to freak out. So they didn't tell me how big. Or what the big stuff is, but they basically it's going to be at 2 p.m. On the 4th of January. Yep, 2 p.m. I let her choose the time. That was the time that was most convenient for her. So yeah, 2 p.m. I'll be on at 10 a.m. as well, so we can talk about it beforehand. But if you think about it, this is the biggest opportunity we've had in order to be heard by the Federation, our zookeepers. And quite frankly, I could have about 50 different conversations with Gosha, and I don't even know where to start because there's so many things to talk about. Oh my God, it really is. There's just so much to talk about. So I'm a little freaked out, I'm not gonna lie, which is why I was venting about it a little bit to my soul guides when I was tripping the other day, because I'm like, what the hell? What am I supposed to do with this? And they basically told me, yeah, we need to brainstorm some questions. Absolutely. I definitely need some. But the thing is, this is more, like I said, I really want to talk to Gosha. I would love to have a conversation with her just about her as an individual. But if this, just in case this is my only opportunity, the most important thing to use this podcast for would be to state our case to the fuckers that are up there with this damn quarantine. Like, no disrespect to the Federation or anything, but they don't listen to shit. And the only people that they consider to be our ambassadors, the people that can speak for us, are the politicians who they know beyond all doubt that they've been compromised. So this is kind of our, I hate to say it, but this is our chance to be able to speak up and say something about how shit this whole situation is. So how am I even going to fit that all into a podcast? I have no idea. And yes, it will be on this page, Vanessa. It's going to be, I stream to YouTube as well. If you guys search on YouTube, I know some of you were upset that Facebook doesn't notify you when I go live. If you subscribe to my YouTube, you'll see when I go live automatically because a notification pops up. So I have a YouTube account. It's Astral Exploration with Lara Star. It goes up simultaneously to both. So if you subscribe to that, the notifications on YouTube are better. So you'll notice that I'm going live faster. But the main thing that I feel is the most important for us to discuss is to ask for fucking help. Really. Gosha doesn't know anything about this. I don't think she has any idea about what we've been going through thanks to Marie's videos. Marie started some shit, you guys. If it wasn't for Marie's videos about entities, we wouldn't have met Andy and Jono. We wouldn't have found Terry Palmer. None of this stuff would, all of us SRT stuff wouldn't happen. So it's thanks to the Tagetans that we're even doing these clearings and helping to remove this stuff. So one of the things that they talk about with this prime directive, which is why the ETs can't land and talk to us face to face, is because there's a rule that the Federation has set that ETs are not allowed to intermingle with humans, that they have to keep a distance, that they have to, respect this whole, what is it? They just don't want ETs meddling with our affairs down here on Earth. But that's the most hypocritical bullshit of all, if you think about it, because how many ETs have we removed from people? And the biggest confusion there, and I think this is what they're going to say, is that they're going to lump reptilians in with us. They're going to consider them to be terrestrial. They've been here so long that, unfortunately, many of the aliens, like quite literally are aliens that are attaching to people. If you guys know about level 3s, okay, because we were talking about how we categorize these beings from level 1 to 3. Level 1s are low level, they're almost like parasites basically, but many of them are elementals, like warped fae. Okay, level 2s are demons, level 3s are aliens. That's why level 3s are the hardest, because aliens, you can't kill them. Soul guides cannot kill something living. So if you have a living, breathing alien that is attached to you in the etheric field, only thing they can do is ask it to leave. That's it. So the soul guides, and if it refuses to leave, they can put it in some kind of an astral holding cell, some kind of an astral quarantine that they have, but they don't use it very often, and only for the ones that are absolutely refusing to leave and that are refusing to listen. So if you think about it, all those level 3s that have been attached to people, all the ones that are messing with people, they shouldn't be doing that. It violates the prime directive, which is why we weren't allowed to talk to aliens in the first place, which is why we only talk to them through channeling and through text and shit. They won't let us have a face-to-face conversation anymore. Pretty sure Billy Meyer was the last time they allowed it to happen. And why they stopped after Billy Meyer is a good question. I'm concerned here. Oh, I had level 3s and 2 of them, and they said they were connected to a spaceship in the thousands from my crown chakra, and I had implants too. Sorry to hear that, Anna. So this is the thing, who knows what they're going to say about this, because they could pull a cop out very easily. They could say, oh, you had a soul contract with those ETs, so it's allowed. You had a soul contract with them, so it doesn't count. Or they could say something like, oh, reptilians have been here for 13,000 years. They're not aliens. They're terrestrial now. I've heard them say that before too. So technically, a reptilian isn't an alien anymore, according to the Federation, because they've been here for 13,000 years. Ever since the Great Cataclysm happened, they've been stuck here too. Does anyone know about DFEs? That's what we're talking about, honey. It's just a different word for it. It's exactly what I'm talking about. It is the Dark Force entity on Jono's report and ET. If it was a level 3, then yeah. That's what a DFE is. We don't really... The thing is, if we call them demons, we ended up getting lumped in with all the religious people. So they're trying to make it sound more clinical, That's why they call it DFEs. It's because they don't want to just call it demons. Demons it sounds too religious. It ends up lumping us in with the born agains and shit. So we just call them DFEs, and we rank them from level 1 to 3. Neg just means negative entity. Yeah, it's just a nickname. Yep. They were transmuted to the light by choice. Well, that's the thing. Some of these beings can. If they are a dead ET, then yeah, they get sent to the light too. But that's the thing, is that not all of them are deceased. Many of them are still living and breathing beings that are attached to people. Like that one reptilian that was attached to that guy that was basically bottling his life force and selling it on the black market. They call it loosh. It's a long story, but loosh is a whole nother can of worms that we could open. If they mention contracts, ask to see it. Ask for proof. That's good. Let me see your warrant. Like, if they mention soul contracts, but that's the thing. According to the Tagetans, and this is what happened when the Federation arrived. When they arrived and they were in World War II, they basically were watching us detonating nukes. And they, according to them, and I don't know if I believe this, but this is what they said. They said that they pulled people out of the battles. Like there were people that were literally in the trenches with the blood and the guts and the freezing, everything, just really suffering in the trenches and whatever. And they pulled them out and they put them on the ship and they had a conversation with them and they were pissed. Apparently they were like, no, put me back. This is what my soul agreed to. This is what I want. This is what I signed up for. So according to them, that if they try and save us in any way, shape, or form, that they are violating our free will and by damaging our plan for this incarnation. So that's their excuse now as to why they don't do jack shit when, all hell is breaking loose. And I shouldn't even say they don't do jack shit because we have no idea what they're doing. Who knows what they're up to? They could be doing all kinds of secret battles and stuff up there. They could be doing stuff underground. According to the Tagetans, they're some of their groups were the ones that were going down into these bunkers, rescuing children and stuff from these horrible bunkers where people are being held captive. So who knows? Maybe they are doing stuff and we just don't know about it. It's hard to tell when everything is such a mess. So who knows? That's the thing, is that all we know is what they tell us. And I have trust issues. So I don't know if I believe all of it anyway. I actually don't believe all of it. Even the stuff that doesn't resonate with me, I'm just like, I'll wait for this because I'm sure that more information is going to come forward. Are Enki and Enlil still alive? It's entirely possible. Aliens, most of them don't die of old age because time doesn't exist. So things don't die of old age outside of the 3D matrix in most cases. Like, for example, they do eventually start to wear you down. Andromedans, I forget how long Andromedans live, but Arcturians live about 10,000 years. Pretty sure it's about the same for Tagetans as well. The Irma seem to care more about their starseeds. The Irma are very, they lost. I was watching a video last night on Cosmic Agency, and they were talking about how they lost one of their pilots. One of their Irma pilots was shot down in North Mexico by the military, and they pulled all their Irma back, just losing one, just one Irma. They pulled them all back. So I mean, when I say they care about their people, I that's an understatement. Just one Irma, and they ended up leaving. They're just like, nope. Nope. And they ended up, like I said, leaving the planet, and they're staying up there now because of it. They don't even want to come down here because they lost one. So who knows? Once the 3D matrix is gone here on Earth, we, one, have access to all our DNA, and two, can we stop our aging? That's a good question. You still age in 5D, just a lot slower. So I don't believe that aging is ever going to end for humans in general. Not unless, even if we have med beds, you still end up aging very slowly, but still. And that's why most of them, she's asking, will Maurice Votto age until she's like 10,000? No, they hit their prime and then they stop aging. They can choose to age further if they wish. But no, they usually just kind of stay. It reminds me of that movie. What is it? Oh my God. The one where your time on Earth is currency. It's got Justin Timberlake in it. Oh my God. where, you know, where everybody, like you have like the whole family line, like the great grandmother, the grandmother, the mother, the daughter, and you can't tell any of them apart. They all look the same. You know, all four of them standing next to each other. You can't tell which one's the great grandmother, the grandmother. In Time, thank you. That's the movie. That's how I imagine it actually is. Where you can't really, yeah, they're just timeless. Once you hit a certain age, they don't age. And I believe that's how it is. Yes, In Time. Yeah, that's a good one. I remember listening to a Irma channeled message, and they are not warriors unless they need to. They chose peace and love, of course, but they are fierce warriors if they need to. Well, the funny thing is they used to be the most dominating race in the cosmos, in this galaxy anyway. Before the reptilians arrived, the Irma were the ones that were going from planet to planet and eating everything and causing all kinds of problems. It took them quite a long time, I should say, which, I mean, it does for all races, really. But they ended up, now they develop their own meat, and they eat synthetic meat, but they're still meat eaters. They grow their own meat in labs and whatever else, whatever you want to call it, in their ships. But yeah, luckily they're not what's the word? They're not invaders anymore. But I also have a feeling, if you guys listen to the podcast on Cosmic Agency, they were talking about the Irma the other day, and I think they're getting very frustrated with the inaction that's happening here. And I think that they are honestly one of our best. I love it. It's been 111. I really do feel like the Irma are our best asset when it comes to our future. And I know I sound completely crazy when I'm talking about cat people coming in and been helping us, but I really feel like they actually give a shit enough to do it. The Tegetans and the Irma, you know, they're really the only ones up there that are saying, you know, this you know, we need to change things now. Because a lot of these other beings, you know, no offense to the Andromedans or the Arcturians or anything, but I don't believe that emotionless races should have anything to do with an emotional race. I don't think they have any right to make rules for us and dictate how our progress is supposed to go when they don't even know how we feel about these things. They don't. Yeah, this is one of the things, though, is that they love to make excuses. They'll say something like, oh, you know, we're listening to the collective. No, you're listening to the government. You're not listening to the collective. But who knows? Maybe that's why I'm being given this opportunity to do this podcast with them. Maybe they are trying to listen to the collective. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a little freaked out as to how big of a responsibility this is going to be for me to state our case and tell them, look, we're quite literally under attack by ETs. So for you to tell us that we're not allowed to have a face-to-face conversation with an ET, but we can be parasitized by one and have one attached to us and make us do horrible things to people, like, so yeah, we need to have a serious conversation with these ETs, and we're not even allowed to meet them face to face. Like, the fact that our government, that our politicians are allowed to meet with them, but we're not. Like, they have no business controlling our planet, in my opinion. All they're doing is perpetuating the lie and controlling us from above, you know. I'm so new to the party. Where can I go to these Irma? What's the Posma? Yes. It's called Cosmic Agency. I'll find it for you. Hang on. YouTube. Cosmic Agency. It's a long story, and this is something that I'll explain since you're a newbie. About 11 years ago, I was on where is it? Subscriptions. 11 years ago, I was actually almost 12 years ago, I was pulled out of body by ETs. And these ETs are called Pleiadians, or at least that's what they introduce themselves as. Here's the link. And I found out that the ETs that pulled me out of body are the same ETs that are talking to this woman. Her name is Gosha. I believe she's originally from Poland, but she lives in Norway, or is it Norway? I think it's Norway. So yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence either that they pulled me out of body 11 years ago to have a conversation, and the next thing you know, I'm deeply immersed in hypnosis and ET stuff. I didn't even like watching David Icke. I used to think David Icke was a complete nut job until during this astral projection, they showed me what a real reptilian looks like. And I'm like, holy crap. So I wake up the next day thinking I'm completely nuts and lost my mind and had the wildest dream ever. And then I start Googling Pleiadians and I find out that they've been in contact with people for decades. Billy Meyer, Barbara Marciniak, and a few others. Everything that they were told was exactly what I was told during my astral projection. So I was like, oh my God, they're real. And last year, I found Cosmic Agency thanks to Gaia. If you guys subscribe to Gaia, they have a first season up there. It's called Galactic Messages. That's how I found out about it. I started watching it on Gaia, and because it was just talking about Pleiadians, and I was like, what? So I searched it and I found it on YouTube, and that's when I looked into Cosmic Agency, and I found out she's been doing these videos for 6 years. And a lot of what is in her videos is spot on to what I was told during my astral projection. So I felt very deeply connected to these videos, and I started watching them almost religiously. Like I would watch like 5 to 10 per day. But then ironically, on the 11th anniversary of my astral projection experience, that day, February 21st, I found a video of hers talking about first contact, and they were pulling people out of body. They were talking about how for over 5-6 years, they were pulling people out of body so they could have a conversation with them and telling them all of these things. And then they said that only about 15 people out of every 1,000 people they pulled out of body actually Googled it the next day and started looking into it more. Most people just automatically assumed that it was a dream. They were just like, oh, wow, that was an intense dream. And then they left it. They didn't do anything with it. Me, on the other hand, I'm one of those people where I was like, holy shit. And the fact that I found that video on the 11th anniversary too, like there's no fucking coincidences there. Like, holy shit. I flipped out that night. I was so emotional. I was like, this answers everything. This explains everything. And sure enough, that's when I added Gosha as a friend, and I had her on my private Facebook account as a friend, and I messaged her just once or twice saying, you know, I really love your videos, blah, blah, blah. And she was really sweet. She messaged me back. But then I asked her if she would like to come on a podcast. One of you guys made the suggestion, and I was like, no, she won't come on my podcast. Like, no chance. I'm too small of a fishy. So, but I messaged her anyway. I invited her on, and she didn't reply. She didn't respond at all. And I was like, oh, oops. Okay, I'll just go over here, you know, see when she's ready. And sure enough, she messaged me out of the blue. I was like, oh my God, okay. She's like, do you still want to do a podcast? I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, I get to ask Gosha all these questions about my own people now, which is really crazy. You know what's funny? And I did ask this during my trip the other night. I don't know if this is true. This is just an intuitive thought that I got. I asked about my relationship with them, and they told me I'm in a pod too. I don't know if it's true. I'm having a hard time believing it. But they said I'm 3 pods away from Gosha. 3 immersion pods away from her. And that all my past life memories are implants, or what do you call it? Imprints. I don't know if that's true. I'm gonna have to speak to somebody like Chen and verify that, whether or not I believe it. So who knows whether or not it's true, but this is what I was told during my trippy trip the other day. That's what they said. They said I'm in a pod too, and that I'm only 3 pods away from Gosha, which I thought was pretty awesome. I don't know. I don't even like the idea of being in a pod, to be honest. It freaks me out a little bit. So I don't know if it's true, but if it is, well, shit. Oh, Andy's wife is home, by the way. Jane is home. She's doing better. She's doing much better. Thank you for asking, Pamela. Yeah, minor imprints. I have 0 doubt of that. It's hard for me to accept that minor imprints, but then again, like it's almost impossible to tell. It really is. For those of you who don't know what an imprint is, you can download other people's past lives as your own messages. And yes, good morning, Scott. It is kombucha. Yep, I'm drinking my bucha this morning. Welcome. Yes. But it is true that many of us, you know, we need to have experience. And when you come from off planet and you've never been to Earth before, you need some previous experience. And that's what people do, is they download past lives from other people. And you can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference between an implanted memory and a real memory. They're identical. So yeah, there's some of us, like we were talking with Danielle. Danielle is an Arcturian. She's in a pod, and she's also, all of her memories from past lives are also imprints. It's a different type of walk-in, Anna, just for the record. It's a cheat, actually. That one that the Illuminati doesn't appreciate very much. But if you ever seen the movie Avatar, there are these things they call immersion pods. And in the movie Avatar, you see a human getting into it, and it reroutes their frequency, their consciousness, their thoughts, memories, experience, all of that gets rerouted from their human body to their alien body, right? The big blue bodies. Well, this is the same exact identical thing, but in reverse. So rather than having it a human consciousness rerouted to an alien body, it's technically an alien consciousness that's being rerouted to a human body. So that's what it is. It's basically like you are plugging your consciousness into a computer, and your computer is moving. You changed avatars, basically. You swapped. Body swap. And it's only temporary. When you die in this body, you wake up in the pod. And for the record, this isn't just, the government knows how to do this too. There's a really messed up story that I was reading about in SRT a while back about this guy that whenever he falls asleep, he wakes up in his clone in a cloning facility in Canada, where every time he falls asleep in this body, there's a clone of him that he wakes up in Canada. And until that clone falls asleep, he can't get back to his normal body. So it's not just us that has this technology, for the record. Even our shitty governments have it. And they're abusing it to hell. Of course they are, because that's what they do. But they consider this to be an actual loophole. And the Illuminati got really mad about it because, there are millions and millions of starseeds in these pods. And the reason for that is, if you think about it, as an Arcturian, you live 10,000 years. Nobody's going to want to give up their Arcturian body just to have one incarnation on Earth for 80 years or whatever. So this is how they get around it. Nothing happens to the Arcturian body. That body goes into stasis, and your consciousness gets rerouted from that body into a human body, into one of the NPC bodies. And I hate to say it, but in order for this to happen, they also have to kidnap the NPC body, change its frequency, so that way that frequency will be compatible with your frequency. So that's why so many starseeds have been abducted as well, because they're checking your frequency and making sure that your body can handle it. And this is also why so many of us have been dealing with epilepsy too, because we have talked about epilepsy being an SRT side effect, where, if you have two competing frequencies, two competing souls after one body, then yeah, it can also cause it. But we've also found that people that are in pods also have this issue, because your frequency that's coming from that pod is being interrupted by something. So if any time your frequency, that's because you're not in your body is basically a drone. You're sending your consciousness to that body, your frequency to the body. So your body is basically a drone on autopilot. I'm hoping you guys are actually following along here. So that's so that means the NPC is no longer an NPC, because now there's a soul in it. Yes. And they can tell the difference, for the record. According to the Tagetans, they say that they have something called a soul spectrometer, where they can see the actual etheric body. And with an NPC, they only have like an auric field over their head. They have like a bubble of auric field over their head, but not around their whole physical body. So in order for a soul to actually be transplanted into an NPC body, their frequency has to match. This is why entities can also take over NPC bodies, for the record. Many of these entities that have been, some of these really devastating attacks that have been placed on groups, that's what happens, is actually it's an entity that takes control of an NPC. It's not all the time, but they can. Exactly. It's basically like the vessel has been retuned. So what if I'm an Arcturian? That means I've been abducted? No, not always. There's been a lot of Arcturians that have been coming here for a very long time. So it could be that you were an Arcturian in a past life and now you've incarnated as a human. It's entirely possible. But there are millions of Arcturians that are here that are in pods right now because it's a lot easier for them to actually be able to go back to their life before. My sister developed epilepsy 5 years ago. I've been messing with her, although she stopped the seizures, thankfully. That's good. I'm glad to hear she stopped the seizures. CBD tends to help. Whenever you have these misfirings in the brain, CBD helps to, balance the, the neurons in the brain and help it from misfiring. Is sleepwalking an entity taking over, or is that a sign of something else? Sleepwalking is when you take your body with you, in most cases. If you're not doing anything violent, if you're not acting out in any way, you're just kind of puttering around the house, that's you taking your body for a walk with you while you're sleeping. You're so deeply rooted in your body that you're taking it with you while you're dreaming. That's the only difference. If you're sleepwalking and trashing the house, then maybe, yeah, that's different. if you're trashing the house and acting violent and being crazy while you're sleepwalking, then yeah, that's the entity taking over when you're out. But in most cases, most people who are sleepwalkers, they just kind of putter around. Yeah, she definitely needs an SRT session, Jessica. Definitely needs a clearing. I wonder, with the little information I found about the Tigetans, if last year's war in the sky was protecting us from other species. That's the thing, is that, we get so much mixed information. It's hard to believe anything these days. This is why I'm even skeptical about the Tigetans. I am a Tigetan. I know it without any doubt. And I know that Gosha is legit beyond any doubt. But I do not know that I can trust them beyond any doubt. That's the thing. Like I said, I have trust issues. 9/11 has given me such bad trust issues. I don't think I can trust anyone, even my own people. But, that's just one of those things where, it's like seeing is believing. But even then, seeing can be changed and manipulated, and what we see can be part of the problem too. So, the tangled web we weave. Oh, yeah. They don't let you remember your abductions. If you remember an abduction, then it probably wasn't one of the good guys. Because like I said, they don't let you remember it. They don't want to freak you out. So no, they're not going to let you know that you were abducted. Because in most cases, and this is what Dolores was talking about in her book, which one was it? It's not the Three Waves. It was the other one. Oh my God, of course my brain is not working to me today. What is the book where she's talking about ETs so much? Keepers of the Garden. That's the one. Keepers of the Garden. In that book, she talks about there's a lot of people that have been abducted by Greys. And they think that, and the custodians, yes, thank you. Yes, Keepers of the Garden and the custodians. I forgot it's also in the custodians, where they talk about how the reasons that many people are abducted is actually for healing purposes. They stick us in med beds. They stick us in all kinds of stuff. If you're an important starseed and you've got stuff that you need to do here on Earth, they will actually abduct you just to help you. And I realize that sounds completely crazy, but it's actually true, because in many of the cases, that's what they're doing, is they're helping you with healing. They're helping you with tuning your frequency. They're helping your body for something. Apparently there's usually a problem with the bodies as well. So most people who are, ET abducted, if they bring you back, they're probably one of the good guys. I hate to say it. It's the ones that abduct you and you don't come back that are not the good guys. I saw a med bed last night in my dream, and it was so vivid I freaked out and calmed down because my ass needs that bed. This is one of the reasons that I'm so pissed off about the fact that we have this non-intervention policy with the Federation. This is one of many things I plan to bitch about when I get my opportunity to tell them off next week. Is the fact that, our politicians, our corrupt Illuminati leaders, as they want to call themselves, get to use med beds. How do you think David Rockefeller lived to be over 100? They're using fucking med beds. So the people who speak for us, the people who are making all these stupid rules, who are actually in, collaboration with our zookeepers, as I like to call them, they get to use med beds. We don't. So that's why they live so long. Exactly. It doesn't also, there's also attachments that help them live longer too, I'm sure. When you make your body a vessel for a being, this is what many of their rituals are, is they actually they welcome attachments. This is one of the things that they do in the Vatican, and all of these weird rituals that they do is they invite entities to come in. And the reason they do that is because, the longer life, the more power. There's all kinds of really, it's a give and take thing. If you allow them to come in, you get gifts. Kind of like selling your soul kind of thing. That's what they're talking about. So that's why if you look at David Rockefeller, yeah, he lived to be over 100. He looked like a skeleton. By the time he was over 100, it looked like his human mask was starting to slip. Oh man, it was freaky. But that's why, is they look like a living corpse after a while. Is that these damn attachments, they will allow you to live longer, but you don't look nice while you're doing it. So yeah, that's why all the rituals and stuff, and that's why, yeah, they can use med beds and they will keep them alive longer. His Edgar shit was wearing out. Exactly. Oh my god, that scene in Men in Black where he's like, "It's up, butter." Oh my god, it makes me laugh so hard because that's what our politicians basically are. Is that they're? It reminds me of that scene in They Live, where at the end of the movie, the signal gets stopped. There's like the signal that was changing what everybody was seeing. So when the signal gets stopped, everybody just looks around and they can see aliens wearing suits and shit. That's kind of what I'm hoping is going to happen when the 3D Matrix gets knocked down out of the moon. What are those ETs called again that can change into anything they want? That's the thing. You'd be surprised how many ETs are shapeshifters. There's a lot. And the thing is that just because what you're seeing in 3D doesn't have to be what they see in 5D, or 7D or whatever. They could change their appearance. In many cases, they do change their appearance because they don't want to freak us out. Death Becomes Her is another great movie. It's an awesome movie. I wonder if that's why I have no recollection of a horrific accident I was in at 14. Well, there's lots of reasons why memories won't. I mean, it's hard to say without hypnosis. I would definitely get a hypnosis session and find out, Jackie. Well, they found, that's a great point, Lena, is that I guess they were for a long time through force and now through covert force. Exactly. This is what they do, is they kind of have to rule things in quiet. It reminds me of a zoo. I worked at a zoo for a long time. It was actually my first volunteer job. I started working at a zoo when I was 14. And it was an amazing job. I really did enjoy working at the zoo because I liked helping the animals and things and make sure they had a better experience. But the animals that were, for example, we had these timber wolves, and you're not allowed to go near them. We weren't allowed to interact with them in any way. So their food had to magically appear. We weren't allowed to play with them. We weren't allowed to get close to them. They wanted to keep them as wild as possible. So that's kind of how I feel that they're treating us right now. It's like, don't go disturbing the animals. They're not supposed to see that you exist. So they just kind of sneak in, do what they got to do, and then they sneak out again. It's exactly like a fucking zoo. This planet really is a zoo, you guys. You have no idea. You have no idea how much this is similar. I saw a video session where there was a clearing for a person, and they came through and admitted that they have been imposing as demons and other dark ETs so they could confuse us and make others take the blame for their shit. There's a lot of that happening. Think about fairies, right? People think that fairies for a long time thought that fairies were evil. Fairies were bad, and the people were absolutely terrified of fairies. Now, to be fair, you do have some that are kind of chaotic neutral and will fuck you up if you if you fuck around. But for the most part, fairies are actually very benevolent. They just don't want to. They want to be left alone. They're high vibe beings who care for nature and care for animals, and they just want to be respected and appreciated and left alone. And that's very similar to. Unfortunately, all of the cases, I shouldn't say all, but most cases where people thought that fairies did something bad, it was actually a demon posing as a fairy. or they'll take over an animal, and then the animal behaving crazy, and then people blame the animal and think a fairy took over. It wasn't. It's a demon. Demons have been posing as fairies for so freaking long. How are you doing with the shift? I saw an astral bug crawling on my 3D wall yesterday. I saw something astral yesterday. I don't know what it was. It was like a black floaty. It was really weird. And I smudged my whole house afterward. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. It was like a black bubble, like a little black floaty. And I was like, and as soon as I looked at it, it was gone. And it's funny too, because if you look over and you notice something like that and you go to stare at it, it'll disappear. But if it's in your peripheral and you're kind of just like looking at it from the side eye, you can kind of look at it longer without it disappearing. But as soon as you look directly at it, it disappears. So I've been noticing that quite a bit, actually. My son, actually, when we were having dinner yesterday, and he goes, I saw somebody. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, a minute ago, I was watching TV, and I saw somebody walk in the room. And then I looked over to see them, and they disappeared. But I know I saw somebody. And I was like, well, okay, who knows? It's Christmas. There's probably a lot of family stopping in for a visit. And he looked at me like, what the hell? I was like, yeah, it's in your peripheral, buddy. That's why if you look at them, they disappeared. And he was like, so yeah, that's why. It's going to get even stronger as the shift gets closer. It really is. It's going to get stronger and stronger. I have not seen a hedgehog yet, Lisa. I've been looking. Thank you for asking. Are fairies and elves the same? No, they're not. Not even close. There are so many elemental beings on this planet. There's like 10,000s of elemental beings that exist on this planet. Some of which are in 3D. You can see elementals in 3D. Some of them are jellyfish. I guarantee you jellyfish are an elemental. Especially if you see some of the more rare jellyfish and you're like, yeah, that's definitely an elemental. Seahorses are an elemental. I don't know if you guys saw my post the other day, but those are elementals that we can see. They're still within our frame of, our vision. But there's a lot of other elementals that are, not able to be seen. But there's a lot of animals that can't be seen either. Apparently, there's more birds in 5D than there are in 3D. So many of the birds that we thought went extinct actually didn't go extinct. They just raised their frequency to the point where we can't see them anymore. I think that a lot of, and keep in mind also that just because something is an elemental doesn't mean it's not also an ET, because there are elementals from other planets that have been brought here too. So if somebody's asking, like, for example, octopuses are a great thing. A lot of people wonder if octopuses are an elemental. I am absolutely convinced they're an alien. I don't, whether or not they're elemental aliens, I have no idea. Dolphins are actually a more advanced race than we are. Dolphins and whales both. You actually have to master being a human before you can be a dolphin. They're from Sirius. They were brought here a long time ago. They used to live on Tiamat and a whole bunch of, basically every planet with water, they bring these beings to. And who knows, like I said, how we define elemental, I feel, is completely different to how somebody else on another planet may define an elemental. So who knows, maybe even manatees are elementals and we just don't know. It's just, that's the thing. It's hard to say what an elemental is and put them into a certain category, considering they're so different and so unique. And I fully believe that there are bugs that are elementals. You ever see those like snails and things that live in volcanoes? They can literally, there are snails that have iron shells that live in volcanoes. Tell me that is not an elemental. Anything living that can handle living near a volcano, that's got to be an elemental, if you think about it. Iron snails, love it. Yeah. But if you think about it, like, this is such a wild planet. Who knows what's actually down at the bottom of the ocean, too? Like, we want to talk about elementals, like fairies and those kinds. How do you define an elemental? Exactly. That's a good question. I don't know, because there's so many different interpretations of what an elemental is. How would I particularly define an elemental? I would say that it's a being that is perfectly in harmony with its element. One that has a very high vibrational frequency, probably. But I imagine there's even elementals that have low vibrational frequencies that we can't see. I am connected to dolphins somehow. Every time I go near water, they appear in front of me, like every time. Dolphins are highly telepathic. They, in fact, have far better telepathy than pretty much everything else on this planet. And same goes for whales. I mean, if you have a brain the size of a Buick, it's not going to be too surprising to consider the fact that they've got abilities that we do not. They're Akashic records keepers too. Like they can access the Akashic records and all kinds of stuff. But dolphins and whales are extremely advanced. Like I said, they're ETs. They came here from Sirius. They were brought here, I should say. Reminds me of that scene in Hitchhiker's Guide. So long, and thanks for all the fish. I'm afraid of the ocean, to fly over the ocean. I'm not scared to just fly. Well, a lot of us drown. Most people that have fear of water, especially dark water, is because they drown. Most of us drowned when the Tiamat cataclysm happened. This planet had a lot of life forms on it. A lot. And when the Tiamat cataclysm happened, when all of that water, the salt water from Tiamat came here, most of us drowned. So we're talking trillions of lives that were snuffed out. Trillions with a T were snuffed out when that happened. This is why they established 3 arcs, for the record. There were 3 arcs of the Covenant. And that's why they were storing DNA in them, because of the cataclysm. I feel like it's a sign of changing dimensions. There's so many cast iron, stone, natural pots and pans cracking and shattering. I actually have a great book on elementals. You reminded me of that, Lisa. Thank you, actually, because there's a book. Where is it? I'll have to get it for you guys later. I can't remember where I put it, but I have a book on elementals. And it's a fantastic book. And it talks about how earthquakes and things are actually caused by elementals. Not all the time. I'm sure the government causes more than elementals do. Is that during Atlantis and Lemuria time? Yeah, that's when it was destroyed. Atlantis and Lemuria were both destroyed in the Tiamat cataclysm. But that's why, like I said, that's why so many of us drown. Yeah, that's why. And where? Keep in mind that Atlantis and Lemuria were 2 of about 20 massive civilizations that were here on Earth at that time. We only know about Atlantis and Lemuria because those are the ones that people are talking about, but there are so many more. Japan, for example, in the Yonaguni monument, there's so many civilizations that are underwater. And so many more, like Göbekli Tepe, that were actually reburied too. So like we're talking massive cities all over the planet. Egypt was also a massive one. There's huge civilizations that existed on Earth, and not all of them were completely wiped out. Many of them were. Was there a flood in ancient Egypt times? Yeah, this is the Great Flood we're talking about. It was, like I said, it basically took over the entire planet. When are you talking to the Galactic Federation? Well, I'm talking with Gosha on January 4th. And whenever she decides to air our talk with the Tayghetans, that's when the Federation will see it. What if no pressure, right? Jesus. Just gonna have to be ambassador to the planet for 2 hours or so. Yeah, that's why, when it comes to this whole drowning thing, there's been a lot of tsunamis that have occurred here on Earth too. So it's hard to say when people drown. There's been a lot. I drowned on a ship, but then again, I'm finding out now it's an imprint. So who knows? Even something that's an imprint to you, something that wasn't even your past life, just a past life that you downloaded from somebody else, that can influence you to such a huge degree. It's unbelievable. It's just as much as if it was your own past life. Do Tayghetans have emotions? Yes, they do. They're just as emotional as we are. Maybe they have a bit more, I should say, they're a bit more collective than we are. But yeah, they get pissed off. They experience love. They experience all the range of emotions that we do, which is one of the reasons why they're not taken seriously by the Federation. They consider emotional races to be kind of childish in a way. They look down on emotional races because they think that our emotions make us weak. But it's actually the exact fucking opposite, in my opinion. We're stronger because of our emotions, because of our consideration for other people and our empathy and our love and our ability to, don't get me wrong, I'm sure they can experience love too, but there's the way that they have their emotions is so different to our own. Like they don't experience fear and worry and things that we do. But that's one of the reasons why they feel that we're immature, is because our emotions make us reactive. We react to things in ways that we probably shouldn't sometimes because we're emotional. So emotions do help to give us motivation and all kinds of stuff, but it also ends up shooting us in the foot sometimes because we have an emotional reaction to things rather than being calm. Why would we download other people's trauma? No, we download their past lives, and you get everything that goes along with it. All their experiences, their memories, all of it, the good and the bad. You get all of it. And so, it's one of those things where you get to choose what kind of downloads you're going to make. It kind of reminds me of that movie, Total Recall, where Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, I really want a vacation. Oh, why don't you take this vacation to Mars or something? And then he downloads it. And then he realizes that he's getting like all of these memories start coming back to him. And he realizes that they're not implanted memories, they're real memories. Well, same thing, kind of similar for us. Just because somebody else experienced it doesn't mean that you're not going to experience it. You experience it through the download. So it's kind of like when Neo gets one of those downloads, when they're putting experiences and they're putting knowledge in his head, and he just like, oh, I need more. It's kind of why we use those experiences while we're here on Earth. You can't just come to Earth as a baby and start over from scratch. It doesn't work that way. Every single baby that's born here on Earth needs to have some kind of experience before they're chosen to come here. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to function. They wouldn't be able to handle all of this stuff that we experience here on Earth as a human. They need some kind of a memory foundation to work with, and that's why we share memories with each other so much. And this is also why you get like 200 people that all claim that they were Cleopatra in a past life. Well, those 200 people could have all chosen to download the Cleopatra memories. And so technically they were Cleopatra. If they have the memories downloaded, it may not have been that particular soul, but if you think about it, everything is source. So it was your soul, just in a different context. This is why it gets very confusing, especially when we start incorporating other realities and other incarnations and stuff, other dimensions, because there's billions of those. It can get very confusing. I like to kayak on my local spring here, but it is totally clear. It is a crystal clear spring, and the winter is full of manatees. That sounds so beautiful, Michelle. So we don't have our memories from our oversoul. We do sometimes. The thing is, if the first time you came to Earth and you needed some imprints to get here, that could have been 10,000 years ago in a linear sense. So it's something to start. Can we also be similar to Isis or have aspects of self? Yeah. All right. So the other day we were talking about Merlin, right? And how people talk about being Merlin in a past life. You can either get the imprint, I keep saying imprint from Merlin. So you can download Merlin's experience as part of your own. Or you could actually be a fragment of Merlin. You could be a disassociated subpersonality, where basically a part of Merlin's consciousness gets absorbed into your own. Humans are group souls. We're not just one soul. In fact, this is something that a lot of people are confused about. We're energies. We are a mix or a soup of energies from all sorts of different places and times and dimensions and experiences. And all of these things come together. And so when you're in this human body, it feels like you've got one soul, one consciousness that's coming through, but you really have multiple. And it's all source. It's just all these different perceptions of source. And so, yeah, in different timelines, you might have been Cleopatra. In another timeline, you might have downloaded part of that consciousness. So it's kind of like You guys know what soul braiding is? Because soul braiding is when you have like one strand from one soul, then you have another strand from another soul, and another one, and it's kind of braided together into making one consciousness. Well, one of those braids that you could have downloaded could have been from Merlin, which is why you have some of his personality / energy / interests. So even if you didn't download the full consciousness memory experience that Merlin had to offer, you can still download a certain part, a little piece of his frequency as part of your own. So that's a lot of us, I've met multiple people that resonate with Merlin, and that's why they either could have gotten the imprint, or they could have just downloaded a little piece of that for themselves. Take a little tiny piece of Merlin and bring it for themselves. And that is because they're using that tiny piece as something to drive their consciousness, something to motivate them, something as part of a learning experience. So if you were here to be an alchemist, of course it would be a great decision for you to choose a piece of Merlin to take with you. We are all one. Exactly, Darren. Yep, exactly. We are all one consciousness. It's the illusion of individuality that we're talking about here, really, because none of us, you guys are all me, just in a different body. And I know how that sounds, but you chose to be you for whatever reason. And you chose that because this is the important time for you to experience that. Otherwise, you could have been born in any incarnation. You chose to be in this one right now for a very specific reason. I was going to name my son Merlin, and my brother talked me out of it, but he was something I felt really strongly about. The thing is, many of us are choosing to be born in this time because of the shift that's happening. And many of us have had very interesting lives here on this planet. But it's also true that many of us are having our first incarnation here, and we don't even realize this is our first incarnation, even through hypnosis, because of all these imprints that we got from all of these other people that we've chosen to download memories from. I'm glad to hear about imprints. I've remembered in a past life where I did some pretty shitty things. I was depressed after remembering that, kind of hoping it was an imprint. It entirely could be. But keep in mind that, what you did in a previous life and who you are now are two entirely different people. So don't ever feel bad about something you did in a past life, because you don't know why you did the things you did. You don't know what pushed you into doing those things, or whether or not you chose to do those things because other people have asked you to do those things. A lot of times people worry about karma, and they're like, I really want to make sure this person is going to be punished in the next life. And then they go into the in-between and they find out that this person's not going to be punished because everything that they did to you, you asked them to do to you as part of your character development. There's a lot of people who pretend to be bullies while they're incarnated, and as soon as they die, they go back to being an angel or something really high vibe. Because the only reason they chose to play that role, kind of like an actor plays a villain role in a movie, that's why. It's all for character development. It's all part of the drama of being here on Earth. So it's one of those things where you really cannot hate on yourself for any reason as to what you did in the past. That is not you. You can be a fallen angel. Absolutely. I know several people who are angels who literally chose to be reincarnated. I shouldn't say reincarnated, but incarnated now because they're helping with the shift. I know quite a few, actually. Can you imagine being put under hypnosis and then finding out that you're an angel? We can actually find out through SRT as well. Because I asked one of the people I asked under SRT, I asked about them, and they're like, no, they're an incarnated angel. And it's like, what? Yeah. So there's quite a lot of people actually who end up being very powerful for this reason, because they were very powerful in a past life. What if you find out you're a watcher? I actually read that as Witcher for some reason. I'm going to start telling people when I say I'm an SRT practitioner. They'll be like, you're a what? I'm a Witcher. But the thing is, being a watcher, there's nothing wrong with that either. Everybody has a role for a specific reason. And you chose that role because not only did you need to learn something from that role, but people needed you to learn something from that role, and they needed to learn from you while you were in that role. So This is one of those things where, we all have very complicated experiences here on Earth. And that's why, is because many of us are here for character development, for learning. It'd be a lot cooler if you did, man. You guys are talking about that Witcher thing, aren't you? Start telling people I'm a Witcher. Let's get the muggles looking at you even more funny. Gotta love it. You watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. Oh, I'm so glad. It's a great movie. Wonderful. My favorite scene is at the end where she's fighting with love. Oh my God, that scene gets me every time. It makes me cry laugh every time. I fucking love that movie so much. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you totally should watch it. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's about a woman who channels other versions of herself from alternate realities when she needs to. It's so good. You watched it with your parents. Oh man, I'm sorry about the dildo scene. That must have been awkward. There's a scene where she attacks somebody with a big floppy dildo. That's what I've seen. Some of this movie, I'm just like, why did they put this in the movie? But it's still my favorite movie just because of how much brilliance is in there. I was laughing so freaking hard at that movie. But there's some scenes, like I said, I don't know why she had to beat the guy with a dildo. I don't know why they put that in there. For comedic effect. Brandy loves that scene. I was laughing at Brandy. I'm like, you would, Brandy. She's like, it's a great scene. I still wonder why the hell they put that in the movie. But hey, whatever floats your boat. That's also the other scene I was thinking of, but I wasn't going to mention that. For you, Dale, it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah. The scene. If you guys haven't seen that movie, it's on Amazon Prime. You got to watch it. It's so good. Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's got the dad in it is Short Round from Indiana Jones. You remember the little dude in the movie where he's running around being chased by Kalima? That movie. Short Round is all grown up and he plays the dad. He got so many awards for that movie. It's so great. I just love it. You have to watch it. Brilliant movie. It's got some weird scenes in there, but life on Earth is weird. I don't know. Gotta love it. No time for love, Dr. Jones. Yes, Short Round. I love it. He did such a great job in the movie too. The way, oh man, his martial arts in that movie were so good. Yeah, you watched it with my wife and in-laws and nobody understood it and thought it was so weird. I loved the entire time. I thought it was one of the best movies I'd ever seen. I absolutely agree with you. It's something that's going to throw off all the muggles. It confuses the muggles. But if you have a spiritual understanding, I brought my ex-boyfriend to see it in theaters and he doesn't believe in any of the stuff I talk about, but he's heard me talk about it. So in the scene where the rocks, where she experienced being a rock, I lost my shit. My ex looked at me like, oh God, here she goes. And I'm like, what? Because I remembered in Dolores's book how she talked to somebody that was a rock. She literally asked what it's like to be a rock and the rock under hypnosis. It was like, what's it like to be a rock? And the rock goes, it's slow. So yeah, even rocks are sentient and consciousness and have consciousness. And when in that movie, she goes into an alternate version of herself where she's a rock and the little rock has googly eyes. I was fucking dying. I was laughing so hard. I just tears pouring off my face. Oh, it was such a great movie. So if you guys haven't seen it, you make sure you watch it. Because like I said, it is a bit weird. There are some scenes in it that you're just like, what the hell? Why would they put that? But yeah, it's just so good. So brilliant. And the ending is my favorite. I just love it. Oh, oh shit. I've been rambling for 2 hours. Oh my God. And there's still 104 of you that have managed to stick around. I love you guys so much. I can't believe you guys are listening to me ramble on about random shit for 2 hours and you're all still here. Mwah! I love you guys. But yeah, it has been 2 hours, and I still can't believe how quiet my little man is being out in the living room right now. He's being very quiet and well behaved today. Yeah, everything, everywhere, all at once. Jackie, in case you didn't catch that. Yep. Make sure that you watch it. You're gonna love it. We can talk about it later. Tomorrow I will be on here with JD. So we can have a chat with JD tomorrow about all kinds of cool stuff. Do you have a podcast about 9/11? Yes. If you go back down to my podcast and watch my September 11th version, you can listen to me ramble on about 9/11 and all the craziness. So yeah, if you go by dates, 9/11 is when I talked about it. But yeah, we get to talk with JD tomorrow. That'll be a fun chat. And then the day after that, it will be a chat with Daniela. Daniela is going to be on with me, and I think she's going to be teaching us Qigong, which will be great. And then we've got Andy and Jono. Andy and Jono will be here. What day are they coming? Are they coming? Yes, they're coming Thursday. Okay, yeah. So it's Andy and Jono that are Thursday, and Daniela that's Friday. And Daniela actually messaged me. Oh, yes. Today at noon, Daniela is going to be doing a healing practice on Divinate. So make sure that you guys check out Divinate, which started a few minutes ago because I was late starting. So yeah, if you guys want to go on and join Daniela right now, Daniela is doing her healing practice on Divinate. It started a few minutes ago, but I'm sure. Oh, you're waiting for me to raid pop. I'm so sorry, Daniela. I didn't even realize what time it was. Hi, honey. So yes, Daniela is going live right now. So be sure to join her as we speak, okay? And Friday the 29th in the podcast, Daniela will be talking about jumpstarting your personal well-being journey. So that'll be great as well. So Daniela, I'm coming to join you right now on Divinate. Love you. I'll see you guys over on Divinate. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow with JD. Mwah. Bye.